Oh, just starting. Welcome to day 35, the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 2. We've been listening to the live evidence of HN1, the undercover police officer who used the cover name Matt Rayner. I'm joined by Claire Hildreth. It's just been audio only.
Yeah.
He's managed to get anonymity to hide his face. What have you made of his evidence?
He's horrible.
He's fucking horrible,
yeah,
isn't he?
He's really smug and self-satisfied and full of his own self-importance.
And posh as fuck.
More posh. He's much more posh. Well, he was a bit posh back in the day, but he's much more posh now. Yeah, and he uses fancy words like he thinks he's some kind of intellectual.
I mean, he does use a lot of very long words.
Yeah.
He's really signalling to the chair and to the inquiry at large that he is one of them. He's
An educated man of the establishment who was doing a good job and was proud that he did it well, in his opinion.
With integrity.
Yeah, he thinks he's got a lot of integrity. So we'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, I mean, you were someone who was spied on by HN1. I mean, how does he compare to the person that you knew?
Well, it's hard to reconcile the two.
Sure.
I don't. Yeah, it's an odd thing just being able to hear him, but obviously, I know it's him. Yeah, it's a bit grim actually. Especially when the early bit when he was talking about Denise, I didn't like that. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. I've left that. It's all right when he's just talking about they had a safe house and blah blah blah, because that's that early bit, and I don't think I'm going to like what he's got to say later on, because. But I don't know how much we can say.
Something we can say everything. I mean, it has been live streamed.
Right,
there's a 10-minute delay. They should have caught up by now. Yeah, they caught up by now. Everything that you've heard is now. It's all in the public. There's nothing restricted.
He's comparing it to an affair, which is completely different from an affair. And then sort of saying it, he's sort of intimating that he's still got feelings for her.
Yeah.
After all these years, and he said I haven't spoken, but I thought it sounded like he wanted to speak to her. So I don't know how much she must be feeling, because I feel a bit sick, to be honest.
Yeah.
I do. It's just like he's got no. I think he thinks it was fine, but more than fine. He's proud of himself.
Yeah, he's definitely very proud of himself. He waxed very lyrical about the unit at large.
Yeah.
We heard a lot about how he felt that Peter Francis really is the person who's caused all the damage.
Yeah, and it's about the damage to the reputation, not the behaviour that they did. Took part in causing the damage. Yeah. It's about it getting out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Being found out, and it's obviously got a big issue with Peter Francis, hasn't it?
Oh, massive issue with Peter Francis.
The way that he spoke about him.
And you can contrast that with the way he talked about Bob Lambert.
Hero Bob. Well, he's copied his behaviour, hasn't he? He just hasn't had a bloody kid.
Yeah, that we know of.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it was quite interesting. He was asked if he had a sexual relationship with LTD while he was deployed, and he answered no comment in a previous questioning. He hasn't been put to him again, but I wonder if this is the sign of another sexual relationship he had whilst deployed, apart from this Fulham.
It's possible. I'd be surprised, but that could be. He did lie to me about quite a lot of things, and some of that was to do with women. And I don't know. Looking back, I don't even know why he was having this conversation with me. It was almost a little bit too. So he would have conversations about who he fancied and who he didn't fancy. That was quite a common theme.
Right.
So he did like women.
Sure.
That's clear.
Yeah, very clear. I mean, he really is. I mean, you can tell he's an ex-public school boy.
Yeah.
We heard about things at the safe house, and he really sounded. I mean, I expected him to start talking about fagging or something. He was like, "I was the T-boy," and
he said it twice.
Yeah.
Who says that they were the T-boy? It's like what kind of language? It's not something that
public school.
Yeah, very much so.
Very much. And he was talking about all the parish news.
Yeah, well, what's all that about?
Yeah, again,
just school. It's it does, because obviously he was trying to create a more working. It wasn't didn't come across like a toff. Yeah, it was southern. So it's and it's if you're northern or Scottish or whatever, sometimes it's quite a bit hard to tell because they all sound a bit posh.
English people, I would say. I can't tell them apart.
I'm not trying to say that. And I'm English, really.
Are you?
Yeah, I was born in Newcastle.
Right. Okay. So.
And that's the end of that. I'm never talking to you again.
No, but I mean, he talked about things like open court around the fireplace. And
I must have missed that bit.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of shit.
His whole sort of. It really came home to me, how much of a member of the establishment he was, how much of a public schoolboy he was. You know, he is all this stuff around, you know, how the interpersonal relationships between the officers with the management, all that stuff.
He thinks he's really special as well. He's got this sort of special skill set, like just like Bob Lambert, that makes him uniquely quirky. What was that? It's like he's only certain people, even if they wanted to, would be able to do what he did. So because he did it, he's like just some kind of hero of the state. You know, he's very much. This is, and talking about visitors, like they've sort of they had their meetings, you know, there's Christmas dues with their wives and partners, and people used to come along and congratulate them. And then they talked about that being like quite high-ranking police, but I was thinking maybe it could have been politicians. He mentioned politicians at one point. Ministerial,
thanks.
Accommodations, for all this like great work they were doing. Spying on people that were mainly leafleting. On boots and outside boots on a Sunday, or lots of minor stuff. And she talked about it. She was asking. I mean, she's very good actually. She's not letting him, although he is like waffling on poshly. She's keeping it going. And it's going to be difficult listening. The stuff that's going to come later, definitely.
It's going to be grim. Yeah, Emma Garkiter is the barrister. I think she's doing a very good job. She opened very strongly, I thought, and I mean his responses I think were appalling. Around Liz Fuller, around his sexual abuse of her.
Grey areas all the time. He kept saying it's a grey area. He said it about 10 times, hasn't he? Yeah. And she has got back to him. She's sort of, you know, tell him, why is it a grey area to you? Because it's like that's, I don't know, was it obfuscation? Yeah. He thinks it was. He said all affairs are wrong. So something like that. That's the way he's compartmentalised that in his mind, I think, to justify his behaviour. So he doesn't see it as abusive. I think he thinks it was like an actual, like a proper relationship.
Well, he's saying that now anyway. Yeah. I mean, he says that what he did to Liz Fuller was no worse than what he did to Jeff Shepherd or to Paul Grabber.
Yeah, or me.
Or you. Yeah. I mean, he actually didn't mention you, but yeah, he said.
No, but he's got that list of people who would have been pissed off and wanted to do something if they found out who he was.
Yeah, apparently Liz is 7 on that list, so there's 6 other people who thought would be more annoyed with him.
Right, and he thought there wouldn't be much difference between how people would feel, and that's why he didn't tell them with Operation Heron, that he didn't think it was that important. She brought up that bit when it was blank. So he's had all these opportunities to come forward and and he just thought, maybe he thought he could get away with it. So he's not mentioned it. You know, he didn't mention it until he had to, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, he said that he didn't trust the process of Operation Who. He's showing a level of contempt for policing there, but I think he's really shown.
He's above all that, isn't he? In his head,
Yeah, completely above that. I mean, he laughs quite a lot. There's lots of chuckling.
Charkling and chuckling.
Chortling, yeah,
good
word.
And it's tough in a toughy. Way. But that's him thinking that he's you know, above it all somehow again. I don't know. I don't like that. He should like trot on chuckle less.
I mean, his entire manner. He's very relaxed.
Yeah, I wish I could see him though. Yeah. Because it's half a picture.
Yeah. Liz has been able to see him. We've no idea what he looks like, but she has been able to see him. I mean, I wonder what she's made of it. I'm going to try and get her to do a reaction video later on today if she's up for it.
She might be,
I mean, he says he hopes that he gets some credit for things like the process.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I can't comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, he says once
they're from.
He hopes that the public, once they hear the full story of his deception of Liz Fuller, they'll understand it from his point of view and they'll give him some credit.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I really don't.
Delusional.
Is it delusional, or is he just so full of shit that this is part of his strategy? I mean, this is a different strategy to the one we saw from Coles, it's different from the one we saw from Lambert, but it does feel like a strategy in itself, you know.
Yeah, like he's been coached in some way. I mean, they're obviously well prepared for this process in a way that we're not, and we just go there and we talk. Openly from the heart, if you like, but there is a planned approach.
Very much.
So they've got their own. Lambert waffling on for days, and Andy Cole's just lying. I mean, I think he believes what he's saying. Matt Rayner is, I think.
Yeah, I mean, possibly. I'm not entirely convinced that any of these people believe anything. If you know what I mean.
They're in that world, aren't they? That's sort of so far removed from how most people live in the real world, and they felt that they feel that they're like James Bond type characters, rather than just people. Really, and most of the people that they were spying on, you know, this is it, the collateral damage of all the dozens of people who's were spied on just because to get to a couple of people.
Yeah, yeah.
And what fit them up.
Yeah,
and encourage them to do more things than they would have done otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like.
Yeah. And he said it's perfectly fine for him to spy on innocent people because the reports that he would produce on them would just exclude them from further interest.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing that they were spied on.
And he said, if you were associating with somebody who was doing anything at all,
or going to the same events.
Yeah, that's it. That was enough to get you spied on. That was fine.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't have associated with them if you didn't believe in what they were doing. I suppose.
Right.
That's his logic.
Yeah. I mean, also because he is very clearly such a member of the establishment. I mean, I kind of believe that the establishment people have this sort of idea. What they believe in is the reality of the situation. Might is right. They're in charge. Their people are in charge. They're maintaining the status quo, and like the feelings and the concerns of ordinary people are not their concern.
They don't matter, do they?
Right.
Because they think they're in the right.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about, isn't it? Protecting the establishment, maintaining the status quo.
Entrenched wealth. Yeah. Right? It's about maintaining entrenched wealth.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
That's basically the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a bastard.
What a complete bastard. What a complete and utter bastard. Yeah. I mean, he really is. I mean, like some of the things that he came out with. I mean, I've got one of these bloody Fitbit things, and I had an alarm because my heart rate was going up.
Oh, you're warning you, you're getting like...
Yeah. It's like, they thought I'd started a workout because I was getting so angry.
Yeah, I was quite angry, but then it's sort of... I'm finding him tiresome to listen to now. I don't like the sound of his voice.
Yeah,
quite frankly.
Yeah, he's very. I mean, he's got like he never knowingly uses too few words, apart from when he knows he's on dodgy ground. Very flowery. Yeah. But then as soon as he's on some sort of dodgy ground, anything where he doesn't want to give too much information away, he starts answering very curt answers.
Yeah, definitely.
But there were certain bits, particularly where he was being asked about what was prescribed, what was he was allowed to do, and he was basically being questioned on what the legislation should say around the deployment of undercover officers. He knew that was about legislation, and he's used the words, used the terminology. He seems very familiar with that world. I mean, people have speculated maybe he's in the civil service or something, or maybe he's in the security services, maybe he's in something to do with Parliament or whatever. But certainly he's very familiar with the internal workings of the policy around this sort of area.
It seems to be. Seems like he is, to be honest, with the level of protection they're offering, which is pretty high, isn't it?
It's incredibly high.
I think, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that that's beyond his private family life. It's right. Something else is going on. I think it's and because he's got this level of protection, he's coming across as more smug.
Yeah, incredibly smug.
I think it's bolstering to think he's like, I don't know, Mr. Great.
Yeah.
We'll see what he says this afternoon. It's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Enraging.
Very enraging. Yeah. I mean, it is early doors. It was a late start. A lot of faff. So, I mean, just as this last session was only like 25 minutes we just had before we went to the break. Again, because we came from a late break. The technical problems, because we're not actually in the hearing room as we normally would be. We're in this side room, just listening to the voice. We're not really, the documents that come up on the screen, it's not particularly clear. It's
not the same, is it?
It's not suitable.
It's a bit of an odd setup.
I mean, once again, this public inquiry is not being very public, and it's not being very inquisitive.
Or accessible.
Or any of those things, it is. It makes it difficult to follow. There's not a huge number of people here today following proceedings because everybody's very well aware that it's going to be difficult. Yeah. And of course, it is available on YouTube. If you are able to, please follow on. It'll be a different link for this afternoon than it was this morning. If you are able to tune in, please do tune in. I think it'll be well worth it. You can just put it on the background. You don't have to watch anything. It's just the audio. So just put it on the background whilst you're doing something else. And you can get wound up like we have here. I mean, honestly, he's such an unpleasant human being. Generally, like a moral vacuum entirely. But someone who thinks himself to have a huge level of superiority. I mean, some of the things, the way that he talked about himself when we had a whole bunch of questions about how he was selected to join the SDS.
Oh yeah, that wasn't nice to listen to.
And then he was just given the opportunity to big himself up, and he took it in both hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was absolutely loving that opportunity, and he couldn't get enough superlatives out. No. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
Yeah, I mean, it really reminded me, at the end of Andy Coles's questioning, he he started talking about, he was given an opportunity to talk about himself, and he said about his deployment, what he achieved, and he said, I'm struggling to think of superlatives, and to which Barr was like, perhaps instead of superlatives, you should be thinking about the harm you've done. But like, but in the case of HN1, I mean, there's no danger of him being unable to find the superlatives for himself. He had all of them ready there, and like one after the other, and he even had an internal rhyme to all the different things that he was talking about. It was just pathetic, really. But I mean, just the level to which, and he was so pleased with himself. I mean, he is so pleased with himself, incredibly self-satisfied. I mean, we had the bit where he was talking about how the manager's coming and speaking to his partner at the time. It would appear that he wasn't married, he didn't have children at first. Maybe the children came later. I don't really know. We haven't really got to that yet. But he talks about his partner. And about, he's been talking about the feelings that he claims he retains for Liz, and it's just like, when he talked about his partner and were they made aware that that you would be being a single man? Plenty of chuckles. Like
she was fine with that.
Yeah, absolutely fine with that. You know, and it reminded me of just this sort of the aristocratic couple who were like kind of having affairs. No, darling, you're going bloody affairs, sleeping with people downstairs again. No, I mean, it was just like, it's not important. Right. I think she seems to be a bit of like collateral damage. As well. I don't know what happened with that relationship. Don't really care, but I mean, he certainly has no respect for her.
No, you can tell that's the lack of respect for women coming through quite loud and clear.
Oh, very much. Yeah, I mean, along with his class prejudices, he's got huge levels of gender prejudice as well.
Definitely.
It comes across very strongly.
Yeah, even on a disembodied voice.
Yeah, which is incredibly difficult. I mean, it's a really difficult thing to follow generally, isn't it? Even if there was just some, like, it frustrates me that the inquiry doesn't at least
put like a mask
or just put Mitting on screen, put Emma Gallagher on screen. Let us see
we
everything
can see
else
her
happening.
talking, couldn't we? Make it easier. It's just it's weird in that room, and I don't like. And the transcripts are all like gibberish a lot of the time. So
it really is.
You're looking at it because you've got nothing else to look at.
Yeah, and you really notice the spelling mistakes and.
There's a lot. Well, there's because they're typing quickly, isn't there?
Which is fair enough. I mean, they do an incredible job.
But normally you've got more to look at. You're in the room, which is properly set up for it, not in like this sort of weird side room.
Yeah, it's really odd. It's a side room with mostly glass and reflective surfaces, and a floor which makes every pair of shoes echo throughout the entire building.
Especially mine. That's a squeak, though.
I mean, it's the hard heels that really bother me some. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. We digress indeed. Is there anything else you want to say about HN1? No. Okay. Well, we'll be back again this afternoon. There'll be more. I'll get somebody. I'll try and get Liz. She will be speaking again this afternoon, as I understand it. I'm not sure if that'll be a public hearing or a closed hearing. We'll find out in a bit. If I can get her if she's willing to a recap, I will get her to join me. I think that would be really good, but it might not be. We'll see. Anyway, thanks for joining, and I'll see you all again in a bit.